The CEO at Transnet, Portia Derby, says that Transnet may soon be in a position in which it could pay dividends to government. In other words, it would be a state-owned entity that would not be making a loss, but would be making a profit and paying part of that over to government. At the same time, Transnet is a company in which we've seen huge evidence of corruption. Even today, there are discussions around corruption at Transnet at the Zondo Commission. Nonkuleleko Dlamini is the Chief Financial Officer at Transnet. Nonkuleleko, good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. Firstly, your CEO saying today you may be able to pay dividends to government in a couple of years. In other words, Transnet would be making a profit and making it consistently. Is that possible?
Thank you for having me, Stephen. And indeed, it is our endeavor to ensure that we get to that point where we pay a dividend to our shareholder. We have made a profit in the current year, might I add. However, we understand that in the current economic conditions, it is critical that we manage. You may have realized that many entities went into cash preservation post-COVID. So much as we are reporting the results for 2020 financial year, which ended in March, which is a positive performance in terms of the EBITDA we reported, as well as the bottom line. However, we understand that we do have to look at preserving some cash to ensure that we can sustain and grow the operations with the intention of ensuring that at some point we can pay a decent dividend to the shareholder.
I mean, you're one of those companies where what happens in the general economy really affects you. If companies aren't moving cargo around as much, then you're going to suffer. There was a comment today that perhaps over the next 20 years the demand for cargo transportation in South Africa could double. But of course the coronavirus could really upset those predictions.
That's correct, Stephen. So even in the current environment, much as we were declared an essential services, but there were parts of the business that had to completely close down, specifically at the earlier parts of the lockdown in the country when we were still at stage 5 or level 5. So we did see quite a significant impact from COVID and from the economic impact that came from the lockdown. However, in the recent past, we have seen a bit of an uptick and a pickup in the business in relation to the opening of the economy. So we're quite hopeful that as the economy opens, we will improve our performance, but also be part of the entities that will assist the growth in the economy in the country.
We've seen so much evidence about money going missing at Transnet over the last few years. I mean, just at Transnet Freight Rail alone, that's been in the news a lot recently. You know, a lot of money went missing. Is Transnet trying to get the money back? And I realize that in a way you're dependent on other institutions and other processes. But do you think that money's gone for good?
Stephen, we've got quite a process internally. Our legal team is working very closely with law enforcement agencies to do what we need to do as a company. In certain instances, and you would have noted that today we reported significant numbers that we call irregular expenditure. It is important to differentiate because some of this money may have been spent not in alignment with the requirements of PFMA or the Public Finance Management Act, but we would have received value, just that we didn't follow process, and therefore we have to report such. But yes, on the other hand, where money was lost, it is critical that we follow all the necessary processes to recover the monies that were lost.
There's been a lot of focus recently on Siyabonga Gama, how he was appointed CEO at Transnet, and I mean, I realize that, you know, there's nothing to do with you, it's no reflection on you, but, you know, it sort of defies logic on how he was, you know, found guilty of wrongdoing and then promoted to the position of CEO. Do you think that his time at Transnet damaged the company? I mean, you run the finances for the company, you're in a position, you know, you have intimate knowledge of the company. Do you think that Transnet was damaged by his tenure?
Stephen, when we enter the entity, we do have to deal with whatever might have happened in the past, as we indicated in releasing our results today, that some of the issues that we have to deal with may date as far back as 2011. And therefore, the legacy that we are picking up, it is critical that we resolve it. And yes, we do find ourselves answering a lot on some of the issues. That is why internally we've set up processes, and our chief legal officer is handling such matters to ensure that we take all the necessary steps to deal with such issues.
If Transnet fails, if Transnet doesn't do the job that we need it to do, I made the point earlier about how intimately linked Transnet is with our economy. The economy's performance will be Transnet's performance, but it also works the other way. If Transnet is not able to perform, our economy won't be able to perform. The expansion plans that you have for the future, I mean, some of them may be a little ambitious. In fact, I hope that they're ambitious, if I may say. What are going to be the big plans? I mean, are we going to see more expansion and better sort of railway services in particular, maybe to take some of the pressure off the N3 between the port of Durban and Johannesburg, Gauteng?
Indeed, and those are the aspirations. So we believe that there is a whole lot of market share that we could still capture, even from the existing requirements in the country. But also we are looking at partnering as much as possible to ensure we capture opportunities for growth. So our strategy team is hard at work to understand where the opportunities to capture immediately, where we might have lost business to road, where we couldn't deliver. But also we know that the competition is tough out there. We need to ensure that the cost is efficient, and therefore the cost of doing business across the value chain is managed. Some of the projects that will be coming up, and I'm sure once we are done with our strategy, we will be announcing some of the things that we'll be doing. But we do want to look at expansion opportunities and ensure that in doing so, we partner without necessarily going to look for support from our government in the form of any guarantees or financial support.
Nonkuleleko, if all of the success works as well as it says you are, Eskom's going to come headhunting and looking to go and ask you to work for them in terms of Transnet. Thank you very much indeed for your time. I really do appreciate it. Nonkuleleko Dlamini is the Chief Financial Officer at Transnet.